Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Backbenchers podcast. I am your host that does the most, Marcus. But stuff me, I'm not important. We got royalty in the house from Backyard Survivor season 4. We got Josh and we got Michael. Hey guys, how we going?
Good.
Yeah, going well, thanks, Marcus.
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan. I'll be honest. I'm a bit of a fangirl right now. Michael was my person I was going for, other than Maddie C, my friend in the season,
Yes.
and Josh is so iconic with all the with all the iconic lines. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited also with fresh blood. You know, I love my previous co-hosts and everything, but it's cool to get some fresh opinions. I feel like this episode's been really exciting. A lot of cool stuff happened, and we're going to kind of go through it all together and tackle it all. Just in general, Josh, what are your thoughts on the season so far?
Yeah, I've been loving it. I think there's amazing gameplay, lots of iconic characters. I'm like super impressed, Some people consider me to be quite an icon, but now I'm watching all these new icons be born. It's great to see.
Yeah, Michael. I think there is a lot of cool characters in this season. I feel like there's a lot of gameplay. What have you been thinking of the season so far, and where we're heading moving into the next couple episodes?
Yeah, I think it's been like a massive step up, and it's great to see the massive step up in, just as Josh was saying, gameplay, but also like the production value. And it's really cool just to see like the community now is just putting out such a consistently great product. And I've already got my favorites, and yeah, I'm just really enjoying the season.
Oh well, yeah. We'll cut the chase. Do we have favorites? Who are you guys' favorites?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm loving Loz, Villain Queen. I just love like the cold, calculated nature. And then Puppy Dog, Ed. He is amazing. And yeah, it's nice to look at, and I'm loving like more underrated characters, like, well, not underrated in my mind, but like a Bethany's doing really well. Maddie, Queen. Yeah, it's just really good. Like, yeah, pretty much everybody has their kind of positives. Like, there's no one that I'm not rooting for or that I dislike. Like, it's really good cast.
Yeah.
How about you, Michael?
I'm loving Ed as well. He's weird. It's weird because he's like so old school alpha, but like in such like an endearing way. I don't normally like that archetype, but I think because it's so genuine from him, you just can't help but love it. But also, who else? Really liking the Squin. I think that she's going to have like a really, she's got a bit of like underdog kind of fighter about her, and I think she's going to be one that's going to really kind of make some waves in the later on in the game. And also really loving, from probably a bit more of an under radar kind of level, really liking Pauline as well.
There's my winners pick. So we're on the same page with that one. I love that. But yeah, that's awesome, guys. I'm super excited to get into it. I feel like quick shout out to the Canberra Survivor. I know most people that are watching this are probably players or people that are watching the show, but if you aren't watching Canberra Survivor, what are you doing? It's an insane season. It's very, very good. If you stumbled across this randomly, we're going to break down episode 4. And we're going to start off with where we started the episode, the Swamp of Sadness, or the Swamp of Rejuvenation. First question to you both in general, whoever wants to go, is I feel like I really liked this episode, and it's kind of heartbreaking but awesome at the same time. You have these battles of like, oh wow, I can see this person against this person, and it's awesome, but then when it goes, it's sad because someone goes. But I feel like there was really two strong women that came together with Amy and Maddie battling it out, two people that I really loved in the season. What did we think of the battle between the two, and how it all played out?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start a petition to change the name of Swamp of Sanders to Swamp of Serenity. So can we start that? Great call by Amy.
Love it.
Meditating there. Look, yeah, it was really sad to see both of those guys. I think had a lot more game in them. I thought that Maddie's game, in particular, probably really cut short. I think she was in a pretty good space in her tribe. She had some really kind of key alliances that she was doing really well with. So I was pretty sad to see her go. As for the duel, I really enjoyed it. I thought was a pretty cool new twist on something that I hadn't seen before. I don't know about you guys, but how would your strategy gone with that, Josh? Because I would have just tied lots of knots together. I would have just done 2 planks and just tied as many knots as I could, and not worried about having all 5 intertwined.
Oh, okay, that's
Have you thought
different.
about that? My mind ticks, and I just kind of wonder what the best strategy for that is.
I just feel like I would be rubbish at that no matter what. So I would just try and do whatever I could. But yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, thank God I didn't have to do that, because yeah, it wouldn't have been pretty.
Yeah, I definitely, I actually agree, Michael. That's probably what I would have done. I'm probably not the smartest person, so knowing that you said that you did the same thing makes me feel better about my thought process with it. But yeah, I definitely think the challenges, Josh, that so far in the swamp have been kind of a mix of strengths. You know, it kind of means that you kind of have to be well-rounded to get your way back. Like, you can't just be like, oh, it's going to be puzzles, or oh, it's going to be physical. Do you think someone like Amy can keep the momentum and get back into the game?
Yeah, I think potentially Amy could be, doing a Christine Shields Markowski redemption run. Like, that would be pretty cool to see. But yeah, I do like how, the challenges there, they're like low key, not too elaborate. And I think it's good because it keeps that segment exciting and engaging. Like, it doesn't drag on too much, and it lets the focus be on the main game, but it is still a good segment. So yeah, I'm liking it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a really good point. I think what I'm loving about, I feel like with battle back, sometimes it can take away from the game. So I feel like what they've really done well of is keeping them short, but not making them kind of pointless. Because sometimes when you make it really short, it can kind of feel like you're just doing it because you don't want the person booted out first to feel like they're out straight away. But I feel like they've done a way to keep the characters relevant. You know, you got Jay's story when he went. There was a lot of character development there. I feel like Amy had a story there, and even Maddie had a little bit there that you could, it felt like it wasn't a waste of time watching Swamp of Sadness in any form. It felt like it was all valuable information, and you got to know everyone really well. And so let's talk about Maddie. Obviously, we know that Maddie, unfortunately, was the second person eliminated. She couldn't handle the challenge, and Amy kept going two in a row this time. What do we think Maddie will be remembered for in this game?
I think she had a really good pulse in the game, and I think that she was able to kind of build those connections. And I really hope that when she watches it back, she doesn't think that it was a challenge performance that led to her getting eliminated, because I really do think that it was probably more her social game, and I think she can be really proud of that. And she's now in the book of being a robbed goddess, so we hope we get to see her again at some point. But yeah, I think she'll be remembered for being a really switched on player who I think could have corralled a lot of numbers to her side later on in the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Maddie was a great player. Like, socially, she was amazing. Seemed to be sort of in the driver's seat of that 4-people alliance. And yeah, definitely a Rob Goddess. Would love to see Maddie play again. I thought, yeah, she was one of my favorites, definitely. Like, really bubbly character, but yeah, really switched on. Like, just got kind of swap screwed. It's sad, but it's Survivor, baby.
I thought her absolute powerhouse. I thought those two were going to cause some damage together, so I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah, I feel like with Maddie, it's tough because I feel like on one side you want to say that she basically didn't do anything wrong. Like, she kind of played how she should have played. It just didn't work out in the situation. But at the same time, it's also like, I feel like she had so much to give. So like, you feel like you'd have regrets because of like, oh, I feel like I could have done so much more. But it's also like, what else could she really have done in the situation? Kind of that weird mix. But I think Maddie is a memorable character for at least on screen. I felt like she had energy whenever she was on screen, and someone you remembered. So I hope that she is proud of her game, and big shout out to Maddie if she's watching this. And unfortunately, we're 0 for 2 when it comes to these interviews right now. I think they're avoiding me. They wait until Sam gets on, the attractive other host, to interview. But unfortunately, Maddie's also away. So as soon as she's available, we'll probably get them both on next week for a double up. So if you have any questions for them, feel free to send it to us, and we'll keep it note for the next week. But yeah, moving on, we got a lot to talk about. Like quite a lot to talk about this episode, so we'll keep it moving. I think the first thing I want to say is so we discussed it last time in our group about Aiden and Squin. And they do like, was Squin left out of the vote intentionally, or was it just kind of like she didn't want to do it, and it was pretty clear from the get-go that she was. She was clearly left out of the vote. She was very surprised. That was not the name she was hearing, which is interesting as well, because I felt like Aiden, like it kind of showed that Aiden's keen to play, and he's not very loyal to anyone right now, and he's very fluid. Where does Squin sit in the game, Josh, overall right now?
I think Squin is in a very bad spot on that tribe. I think Squin is a great player, but I think other people see that. And with her being down on the numbers and Aiden obviously jumping ship, I think, yeah, she needs to hope and pray for a miracle, basically. Yeah, and when Squin came back to the camp, it seemed like, I don't know, she was a bit maybe unsure of the numbers and who flipped. And then I think she was trying to like play innocent kind of thing, but Aiden was like definitely clocked what she was thinking. I don't know. I felt like she was a bit very like unsure of what happened and quite surprised. Yeah, maybe she wasn't running the numbers as much as I thought, but yeah, I love Squin though. And yeah, I just hope that she can get something going, because I'm rooting for her.
Yeah, she's in a spot which is interesting. I feel like there is options, but maybe it's more she's not aware of them at the time. It's kind of like we obviously can see everyone's where they're at, and we obviously hear a lot of rumors of there's a lot of options of flipping, and she'll probably be someone that possibly could be used as a number. But I also see her kind of being lost in the pack if she doesn't do what Aiden did in the last episode and really step up and be like, wow, I was out of the vote this time. I gotta get involved in this game. I'm gonna be left behind. But I definitely think as well, I know Pauline mentioned in the episode that she got kept because of her tribe strength, and that they think that that's going to be an issue moving forward. Do you think that's something that might bite them in the butt if they get to merge and Squin could possibly win a few immunities, Michael?
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw in this episode that she did come through pretty clutch with the puzzle, which is pretty important. But I think for her, it's really important now that she's kind of almost Aiden's got a head start on her. He made the smart move. He flipped. He's kind of created some of those working connections with people. So, but if she kind of goes from a point where she's just trying to make the same connections, then she's just going to be the one on the bottom of the totem pole. So she really needs to, I think probably her move would be probably her best bet will be Andrew. Andrew really likes to, we've seen it before, he really likes to kind of create an arm, and he wants people who are loyal to him. So I think that if she went to Andrew and was able to kind of start forming connection, and Pauline, and kind of, especially now we see this dynamic between Oscar and Andrew, then she might be able to help be a bullet within that battle. So, and on the flip side for Aiden, I think it was a really smart move initially for him, but it's now he can't get complacent and stagnant within that alliance and think that he's just set. It's like, what's his next move? He's got that relationship with Oscar. How is he going to be able to play that against, the other people within that fractured four moving forward?
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of Andrew, he's got an issue, and it's Oscar leaking information. Oscar's there's a mole in the camp, and its name starts with an O. Oscar. I don't particularly hate. I don't know, if I was in Andrew's position, I wouldn't particularly be I guess maybe Andrew's someone that loves a common enemy. He loves to be like, we're going to band against this guy. This person is doing the wrong. I personally wouldn't have cared that Oscar leaked the information, because I can understand the reasoning. But do we think that this clearly we're setting up to an Oscar and Andrew battle? Do you think that possesses that leads a lot of opportunities, Josh, for Aiden and Squin if they can get together again to take out a big threat before merge?
I think definitely, yeah. But yeah, Oscar's kind of got a bit of a big mouth. It's getting him in trouble. But I think that because he seems quite young and stuff, I just feel like it's like the naivety kind of coming out. And there was a chat when Pauline was speaking with Sab and Andrew, and that she was saying she's keen to blindside Oscar. So it seems like the numbers could already be there for that. And I loved that segment. And Pauline was like, saying how she's downplaying how much of a super fan she is. Like, I really like that moment. And I feel like it's setting Pauline up to like be a huge player coming into the merge and a threat to win.
I love that whole scene as well, like the juxtaposition of, Andrew. And I thought the way Andrew did it, as you said, he loves a common enemy, and the way he was able to kind of so subtly kind of put it on Oscar and get everyone to think that Oscar, is playing his own game. And as everyone should, I thought his delivery was of pitting the enemy on Oscar a lot better than what Oscar did against Andrew, which he was a little bit more fumbly in his delivery, I thought.
Yeah, 100% agree. We actually got a first question here from Aston. Do we think that Sabrina and Pauline are actually keen to go against Oscar? What do you guys think?
It's hard to tell because, knowing Andrew as a player, he does this big common enemy thing. Oh, his kid, that's cute. He does this common enemy thing. And it's like, are the girls just, giving him lip service to keep him at bay? Or are they actually keen? I don't know. And I'm trying to think, because I know that before the swap, there was like a 4 or 5 person alliance, and it seemed like Andrew would have been the next one voted out. And I'm trying to think which side the girls were on, because maybe they would rather keep Oscar and take out Andrew, in keeping with what their alliance was wanting on the pre-swap tribe, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I think the edit kind of makes us want to think that Andrew is kind of leading the alliance, but it's really hard to see where the chips are going to fall on that one. So I'm really excited to see which way everyone's going to go, because I think there is going to be, an AU Survivor clash of the Titans between those two. I could see, it's like a Channel 10 and it would like flip up and it would be like King Andrew, King Oscar. Who's going to win?
Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned the edit, because I think if anyone is thinking of doing an LRG or is editing an LRG right now, get your notepads out whenever you watch Canberra Survivor, because Dan is honestly putting a masterclass on, and I'm not trying to say I know, but I work as an editor, so I know good editing when I see it, and Dan is so good at hiding things. For the first few episodes, a lot of the confessionals, Pauline was saying that she doesn't want to work with Andrew, and now that they're stuck together, we don't hear Pauline mention much about who she wants to stick with, and he's purposely doing that because he wants us to not sure, because we go, oh, well, she said she didn't want to work with Andrew before, but she also said to Andrew that she wasn't stoked about the Oscar leaking information, and it's making it way more intriguing. I think obviously there's stuff later in the episode that is just even more impressive in regards to the editing, but we kind of got to keep going.
Oh, sorry. No.
Sorry, guys. No, keep going, Michael. Keep going.
I was just going to say, probably the other thing we got to think about, maybe it's reading into the edit a little bit, and it's probably jumping forward, but there was the scene with Sabrina and Andrew with that clue. So, but we haven't. Obviously, we're going to hear about that next episode to see if they're actually maybe closer than what we think. So.
100%. I 100% agree. I think that's what I love about it. I think that's what's really good about the editing, is that he leaves crumbs throughout. There's so much stuff you look back on the few episodes before and you're like, oh, like that thing that we saw that we didn't get at the time makes sense now. But when we'll talk about Pauline and Sab, in my opinion, are in a great spot. They're involved in everything. Yet their names are never obviously Sab's had a name thrown out and had votes, but it's never really been a serious consideration. It's been the vote of the people that are getting voted out, essentially. And I feel like the girls aren't classic. They're manipulating the big players, and they're making them act like wow, Andrew, you're in charge, and you're going to get Oscar, and Oscar, you're going to get Andrew. And little do we know, they're going to be sitting at pre-merge or on the jury, and Pauline and Sab are still going to be there. What do we think about how they're playing, and do we think they are just manipulating these boys to go against each other?
Definitely. I mean, as Pauline said, you know, she's a super fan. She knows what she's doing. And I'm not sure how much of a super fan Sab is, but I think the pair of them, are just really playing well, under the radar, underrated, social, pushing the big targets in front of them. Great, you know, maneuvering of shields in front of them. I think, they're definitely setting themselves up and, stitching Andrew up and Oscar up as they go.
Yeah, Michael, anything you want to add to that in regards to Pauline and Sab's game in particular?
Yeah, I think perfectly playing the middle. And, you know, I think in essence, I think what Oscar was probably doing wasn't terrible with, you know, giving that information to Aiden. But, I think that they've been able to play the middle really, really well. So I'd just like to maybe see... So I've got kids around.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
It'd be cool to see maybe a little bit whether they've got like a really close dynamic with each other, because although we're seeing them in a lot of these conversations, I'm not sure if we've seen them talk about each other as being a really tight two just yet. So I'd love to see if, you know, they're both independently playing the middle, or if they're playing the middle together.
Mm.
What I would love to see is actually...
we got Sab saying, I'm a super fan too. I'm sorry, Sab. We know Pauline's a super fan, but it makes perfect sense how you guys are both super fans. Makes perfect sense.
So same as you, Josh.
Well, I would love to see Sab, Pauline, Oscar, and Squin team up. Like, why is that not an option?
Yeah, I love that idea.
That would be sick. And take out
idea.
Aiden.
Ooh, all right. That's a big move. I like that there.
Sorry. Taking out the alpha males. I can't, you know, I'm doing an Eden right now.
But yeah, so we move on. We move on to the other tribe. And I said it last week that I was hoping for a big John episode. And my God, did we get a big John episode. He instantly looks like MC Flip. He wants to move to the. He's off. He's off the train. He wants to go. Me personally, I was surprised about the chats, but because argument of is basically, are we surprised that he's working with the other side so easily, or is it just a simple case of personality types just matching better?
Yeah, I was shocked how open he was, like just sitting there and he's just saying, oh yeah, you know, just leaking all the info. I was like, okay, it was, and he, to anyone who's watched our season, he is just, every time I see him, I'm just like, oh my God, Matt B. He just reminds me of Matt B so much, even with the gameplay and like playing both sides. But yeah, I was shocked. He was a great like manipulator, great liar. Like nobody really suspected it except Bethany, which she is just like, I don't know, what is it, like a medium or something? She's like got those, that's so Raven premonitions going. Like, I just think, John, that was a really strong episode for him, but you know, he might be playing both sides a little bit too much and it might come back to bite him. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, go, Michael.
I was just like, as soon as he kind of, we had that scene where the three of them were talking together, and I was like, oh no, we're just going to have a boring, you know, vote off of, you know, the Ed off between Eden and Ed. And then when he went straight back and he goes, no, that's not happening. I was just like, yes, come on, big blindside. And yeah, I definitely get some Matt B vibes from our season, which so I think Nick would be very proud of his dad, the move that he pulled. But it's about now, what's his move going forward? Is he needs to probably within that alliance that he's flipped to, you know, have like a really solid connection one or two people going forward. Because if you're just flipping to a group of three and then you're just going to be at the bottom, then you've left yourself in a worse position. So I'm really interested to see what his kind of moves going forward will be.
100%. Sam makes a really good point. I was shocked they were taking John's spilling all the info approach as true. I'd be skeptical. They were fortunate if it's legit, and I think that's something that I will bring it up later. But something that I think is really working for John is I think people almost just don't think older dudes can lie and play, and they just think, oh, this guy is honest Abe, and I'm just going to take this guy to the end, and he's going to I think like Tarzan type, like with Dave in All Stars. They just think this guy's going to come with me if I make him feel good and make him feel included in the conversations, he will vote every way I want to vote, and this will be easy. It's just whoever can grab him. And I don't think that's John. I think John's here to play, and I think he knows that. I think he's aware of the perception of himself, and I think, and I said, there's a few people there, proof with Anthea, which is like, I just don't think he's going to do it. I just don't think he's going to flip. Obviously, we'll discuss that later. But yeah, the next thing that I wanted to mention before we move on to the immunity challenge is Ed obviously mentions the Globe Idol on the flags, and obviously that's a common theme in this episode as we finally get to reveal that later on. But I know obviously you guys have hindsight, and you can. I need a bit of honesty here. Did you guys think it was an idol before it was revealed that it was an idol, or was it just a destruction of property by the two people?
No, I didn't clock it before the players did, but as soon as it was looked at and mentioned in the show, I was like 100% that's going to be an idol. And if it's not, you would want to just take it in case, and then you can bluff it as a fake idol, worst case scenario.
Yeah, I think especially with the clue that was received with the SEA, I definitely thought that it was an idol. So I was pretty surprised, as everyone else was when I saw that it wasn't. But yeah, I for sure would have thought it was an idol too.
Before we move on to the challenge, I made notes. I have some thoughts if I can drop those.
No, I love this, Josh.
When am I going to get another opportunity? So, John was saying he hopes the game can be more fluid, not just original tribe lines when he was chatting. And then he said that in front of Bethany, which then links into later on when she was like, what if he's going to flip? And Bethany went and told her alliance of Eden and Anthea, and then they were all kind of concerned. So that kind of set it up from there. So that was interesting. And Bethany, I noticed a little thing because I seen in LRGs, when somebody comes from a far distance to play, they kind of use that as a bargaining tool, oh, please, I've flown so far to be here, and no one really cares. We saw that in Backyard season 3 when Liz is I came from over east, and no one cares and just votes her out. But Bethany was saying that to Todd, I've sacrificed a lot to be here, and I'm could that be foreshadowing, or am I way reading into the LRG lore too much?
I love that. I love it. It's all connected. It's all connected. It's a multiverse. But yeah, I think it's a great point. And even Sam brings it up here. You're already getting compliments. Great pickup, Josh. I 100% agree. I think that's the thing I love about it is that's something that maybe someone else wouldn't leave in the edit, but just a quick little thing that you might not notice that. But by then, if you do a rewatch of the episode, you're like, oh wow, it was right there. Okay, that's where we know. That's how Bethany knew, because no one. She was in the conversation. The others weren't.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the immunity challenge, which is next up, I thought it was pretty straightforward, kind of a classic LRG challenge. For this episode, what were our thoughts on it as a whole, and how the two tribes kind of handled the challenge?
Michael. Yeah, I think as you said, pretty straightforward challenge. To be honest, I actually fast forwarded the bit until we got to the puzzle. Sorry.
Hey, we love honesty on this podcast. We say it how it is.
So, but no, those puzzles are hard. Like if you've never practiced those type of puzzles before, they're pretty hard. And if you've, you know, they've had them in backyard before, and if you haven't had that exact puzzle that you've practiced, you can just be going for hours and hours. And, you know, I've screenshotted Survivor ones that they've done on the US Survivor before and tried to do them, and they're hard. So, how long was it? Half an hour, I think it took them to do it.
24, I think, was the answer they said, which is crazy.
So I think it's at least the positive of that is that because so many people were cycling through, it's not like you're putting yourself on a pedestal and people are like, oh, they couldn't do the puzzle. It's like no one could do the puzzle. It was just, you know, Squin just happened to get the right combination, which is good for her, makes her look good. But I don't think you'd look at everyone else and that wouldn't be a bad thing, I don't think.
Yeah, Squin stayed that puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's showing that she has that strength, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, that can be lead to issues when merge comes to town. You know, all of a sudden your strength becomes a target. But yeah, I definitely think the only thing I have to really say, it's a little small thing, but I just thought it was really funny. If you ever want to go back and rewatch it. So whenever someone is not blindfolded and they're just standing watching a challenge, they look normal. But for some reason, whenever anyone is blindfolded, their mouths look like they're in limbo. They look like they all looked like they were completely out of it. Completely, they had no idea what was going on. They were just all standing off with their mouths wide open the entire time. All of them. I saw Squin do it or someone. I forgot who it was, but someone did it, and I was like, "That's weird." And I looked at all the other faces, and they were all kind of giving a blank face. I thought it was very funny. I feel like the challenges like this are interesting because it all goes down to the puzzle, right? Like the other stuff is more kind of so everyone gets involved. But realistically, it's the puzzle because the puzzle's going to take probably a long time. Do you think it's dumb to step up? Like, is that a risky thing, or would you guys have stepped up in that situation?
I don't think you want to be the first to step up.
Yeah.
But I think once people realize that everyone else was struggling, I think you just go, oh yeah, I'll give it a shot. But I think with a puzzle at that kind of difficulty, if you're not like really confident of your skills, I wouldn't be putting myself up to go first for sure.
And they're lucky that they could actually swap out, because sometimes it's like if you get picked to do the puzzle, that's it, and all the pressure's on you, you know, win or lose. So the fact that they could sub in and out, I think it was good. But yeah, I would not be wanting to volunteer for that puzzle first up. Definitely not.
Yeah, I think the Survivor Canberra is a little insight here. Little did we know everyone got involved in the puzzle anyway. I think I genuinely believe I'm so bad at puzzles that they could have done it for an hour straight, and I would never have put my hand up to have a go. I would have been like, it would have been a waste of 5 minutes. I am god awful at puzzles, so I would have been like, yeah, I'd rather just someone else that could do it have another crack, because I sum myself out. But yeah, as I said, Karawong won immunity. I liked I'm liking it definitely feels like it's not just one tribe dominating every episode and a massive boot, which I think honestly it really makes merge a potential to be very, very interesting. Obviously we'll get to that when we get to it, but moving on to pre-tribal as a whole, the double elimination speculation from Eden, it proves to be correct. Obviously, on the next time on, it's revealed that next episode will be a double elimination. Does that show that watching the prior seasons is important with LRGs? Like, is it almost a must at this point? Where if you're on Canberra Survivor, you should watch the previous seasons.
100%. And you'd be an idiot not to watch them. Like, if you don't do your homework, like, why? You know, if you're going to show up, be filmed, you know, put your pride on the line, do your homework. So it was very impressive by Eden, and yeah, it turned out to be true. So good for him. I thought it showed him as a very smart player, very switched on, and the edit gave him a lot of credit with that, which he deserved.
Yeah. And I think even if you've done all the homework and watched it, just to be in the moment and to be thinking about, you know, where you are in the game, we had a swap, you know, what's coming next. It's hard to not get caught up in the game. You know, when we played, you just get caught up so much in like what's happening now, what's happening, what you don't think about what happened in past seasons or what could be coming up so much. So definitely a big positive for him.
Yeah,
he's very smart. Obviously, we know that just from general. I know Ed, he's a genius. So doesn't surprise me at all that he's straight away throwing that stuff out. But yeah, another person that I think is very underrated, and it gets exposed in this episode for the viewers for the first time. Really, is Bethany. I feel like she just has a great reads on the game. Like pretty much, if you think about it from episode to episode, anytime she's on and she gives an opinion, it's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah.
It's very impressive, and obviously we discussed it with the speculation, but particularly the labeling of Loz and Ed as an alpha duo, I think that's brilliant because the classic thing is to pitch Ed as an alpha or Andrew as an alpha. It's a classic dude labeling, but Loz is an alpha. She's an alpha. She is a person that wants to control the vote and dominate challenges and be a strong presence. And just because she's not a man doesn't mean that she's not someone that can do that. So I think it's great that Bethany is picking up on that. And I think it's potential that I could see Bethany really, if someone trusts her opinion and actually listens to it, which it sucks it didn't happen, it didn't work out, but as proof of Eden, someone can do a lot of good stuff with the information that she's providing.
Yeah, I thought in that there was a particular conversation where she had the great read, but sometimes you got to be careful about who you tell this information to, because she was having that conversation. I think it was her, Eden, Anthea, and Todd, and she was talking to Todd and saying how she was worried about John, and that she was saying, you know, worried about John because he just wants to team up with the alpha males, and the alpha males are Todd's alliance. So she was basically telling John and telling Todd that John will want to team up with you. And I think there was really a funny moment if you watch it back. And I think because Anthea goes to Eden, she goes, "What do you think about John, Eden?" And then Eden goes, says something, and then he's like, he moves backwards and he's shaking his head, and he's like, "Don't leave! Like, what are you guys doing?"
I clocked that, and he was like, "Shut up."
They were just giving a bit too much information of the way that John wanted to play, and I don't know if Todd maybe necessarily realised, but I think it was a great read, but she maybe leaked too much of that information, didn't keep it to herself to use to her own advantage.
While we're on the topic of Bethany, so going through my notes, I did note, and exactly what you said, Marcus, about how Bethany's being shown to be very perceptive, but then sometimes it's like, do people listen or not? With the edit, I noticed that she was, I think, the first one on that tribe to try and grab the idol off the flag, but she just couldn't do it in time. And then she just kind of like gave up. And I was thinking like, is that a foreshadowing where she's going to be correct, but she just won't be able to sort of seal the deal? Like, is she going to be too apprehensive or chicken out of something? But in this episode, I think, no, she stuck to her gut and she was completely correct. And I think, yeah, she's a very perceptive player. I was very impressed.
Yeah, the idol thing is exactly correct. I think she could be someone I'm criminal to this. I feel like I play very big and hard when I do trials, and I always have one person that's like, they're doing this, why aren't you listening? And then later on I'm like, I should have listened to that person. And I could totally imagine Bethany being in a multiple of chats, and every time the episode just being like, see, I told you that was this, and I told you they were doing this, and you didn't listen to me, and look where we are. So I hope that this episode definitely locks in that people should listen to her. And I hope it doesn't become an issue. I'd love her to go far. I really could see a lot of potential in Bethany. But yeah, speaking of someone else, I think has potential. We've spoken a little bit about John, but I think his gameplay, we discussed it a little bit, but his gameplay is very uncommon with older players in LRG. I'm personally on the John bus. What do we think about John in this pre-tribal thing? I feel like he did well I actually think he did well at lying. I just think Bethany was very good at figuring it out. I don't think that's he was really bad at lying. I think it was just he was very good and he proved because he convinced the hell out of Anthea. It's just Bethany was too good at figuring it out.
Didn't he tell Beth though? Didn't they have that conversation later in the episode where he goes, I might be inclined to vote.
But that's the thing. It's like, that was interesting as well because even the way that she did it was very interesting. Like I felt like I think she did very well at not making it obvious that she knew. I think she tried the way she was like just throwing it out, like, oh, just hypothetically, and all that kind of stuff. I think that was very smart. But I think John's interesting. It's interesting that he was willing to give the information to Bethany. I thought that was interesting. I guess maybe it was because I don't know. Maybe because even with you'd argue that would he have known they had the idol? I assume he probably didn't. So does that maybe change things? Maybe he was just maybe that's a strike on his gameplay that he didn't think maybe they have an idol. Like Josh, what are your thoughts on the whole John lying through his teeth with his alliance?
Yeah, I think John's lying skills were pretty flawless. It was just that Bethany's perception is just insane. Like I think, and the conversation where she was chatting and she's like, oh, hypothetically, what would you want to do? She was just extracting all of that info out of John. And he's the one who says, oh, I'd be kind of inclined to vote for Anthea. He tells Bethany, oh, and she was, he could have lied and gave her a fake name, but him telling her Anthea, which is a credit to Bethany's questioning and perception skills, then tips off Bethany to tell Eden, this is what's happening. He's flipping. You need to play your idol for Anthea, which would have been correct. And then, well, I'm sure we'll get there later, but Eden doing a minority vote split as well. Iconic. But I think Bethany should get the credit. I believe that she's the one who got that ball rolling and got that counter plan, going by her own skills. And then obviously Eden's boldness was like amazing to try and do that move. But yeah, I think Bethany is a really good player. And yeah, she deserves a lot of props for this episode.
Yeah, 100%.
Someone
else...
that Anthea knew that her name was on the block, or do you think that Eden knew and then he decided to play it on her so that she didn't play her advantage? Because then that would leave possibly, less people.
I think I feel like they'd know because I feel like Beth would have. That's what's so interesting about the way editing, because you don't know when the conversations are, right? Like her and John's conversation could have been right before tribal, or it could have been at the start, or wherever. Where you'd hope that if Bethany had that John conversation and he did throw out Anthea's name, that she would go back, and maybe that's where the idol discussion became a thing.
Did she have safety?
No, she has the mutiny. So that's something I think Derek brings it up here. Yeah, sorry. As soon as Bethany found that it was Anthea, they should have played that advantage. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty confident they can only play it at a challenge, like when they go in with a tribe. Is that the only way? Or I don't really remember exactly the advantage.
I don't know.
When I had one on a thing, I could only do it when I was at a thing. Here we go. This is a good little insight. John and Bethany's conversation was right before tribal, so that definitely changes things. Right. That's very interesting. Thank you for the insight. I love that. But yeah, I'm going to move on to someone that I want to talk about, and we haven't spoken about much this whole podcast and even the previous podcast. And I apologize because I did not. As soon as someone mentioned it to me, I went, "Yeah, why aren't we talking to this person?" Todd. Todd is one of the people I think, like a lot of people kind of have a set path to get to merge. Todd has a million. Todd could go any way, in my opinion. I think he has multiple options. If I was Ed and Loz, I'd be really keeping an eye on him. Because my opinion, like I know the Bethany probably wasn't the best move to pitch to Todd, but I think for Todd, like that's a good option to potentially be like, oh, well, if he thinks we're right before merge, who do you want to get rid of? A Bethany, who would be keen to work with you, or a Ed? I'd much rather get rid of an Ed. So I think Todd has a lot of options. What are your thoughts on Todd's game so far and how he handled all the information this episode?
Yeah, I think Todd's gameplay, he's playing it quite safe. He's middle of the road. He doesn't, upset people. He's kind of playing similar to Pauline, I feel like, just being friendly with everybody, keeping his options open, which is maybe why, people like you're forgetting to talk about him in the podcast is because like in the game, he's good at lowering his threat level so that you think of other people as bigger targets. So I think he's playing well, but I feel like, now I guess the four in power is Todd, John, Loz, and Ed. I feel like Todd's energy would probably be more compatible with Ed and Bethany and the Antheas. So maybe he should have flipped. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's in a great spot, and he's playing even that conversation where he was included in the group with the other three shows that there's a bit of trust there from the other side. Probably just like my only knock on him was I think he was having that conversation around with Anthea. It was a really funny, awkward conversation because it's one of those conversations where I think both people know that they're kind of targeting each other, or and she goes, "Oh, what do you think about voting John? Would you do that?" And he's like, "Yeah, maybe I need to go talk to Bethany and then check back in with Bethany, and then we'll reconvene." And like shout out to like future Survivor players. That's probably like a really bad thing to do because that he's probably not going to vote out Ed or Loz. The only other people would be, he says he's going to go talk to Bethany. The only other people is Ed and Anthea, who he's talking to. So
yeah,
in such a short game, you just lie. You just go, yes, wait, you guys have 4, we've got 3. I don't want to go home. Yeah, I'll vote John if you guys want to vote John. You just say that, and then you go back to your core alliance and you say, this is what I said. I had to say it for that reason, because otherwise it throws, the person you're talking to can clock it really, really easily.
And can we highlight Woofie's? I'm sorry. Can we highlight Woofie's comment, because that is a huge thing I want to talk about.
So yeah, with Todd's plethora of options, does Eden voting for Todd throw a spanner in the works for him to align with Bethany in the future? So me personally, I think that I'd hope that Todd is a Survivor fan, and if someone like Eden came up to me and said, "Hey, I was playing the Idol, I was just doing it just in case for this reason," I think if I was him, I'd be like, "Yeah, cool, game respects game, like that was cool." Like, but I can understand if Todd was like, "Hey, oh crap, like."
Yeah,
I was a consideration.
Option. Like, why? Like, in every other aspect, Eden absolutely slayed this game, but I feel like this is his one mistake. Like, why would you not throw that, that dummy kind of cover vote? Put it on Loz, who is fully solid. You're already voting for Ed. Ed and Loz are the power couple. Just put it on Loz. Why put it on Todd when he's somebody that might flip, down the track? I just think, that wasn't the right thing to do.
Quick little comment there for the boy. Survivor Masterclass lesson by Michael. Yeah, everyone's got their notepads and pens. You got to. Is everyone got their hex? You got to pay the debt. It's a pretty expensive course with Michael right now. It's about $10,000 an hour. But you see giving to us. But yeah, here Anthea's advantage could only be played at tribal before the votes were cast. So yeah, so it wouldn't have helped because it would have been
Well, it would have been a 3-3, and they did show that moment when Eden said, "Yeah, I'd be willing to go to Rocks." So
yeah,
but it would have been.
Of course,
wasn't it
when they talk about Rocks.
And I loved.
Wasn't it the votes? Because wouldn't it be before the votes are read? So the votes would have already been cast, right? And he voted for Todd. Or are you saying that they would have made the plan well before and done that? Yeah, well, I love Rocks. But yeah, Michael, you were saying?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that scene where they must have been talking about her going home, and he was like, "I'd play Rocks," and then she's like, "Oh, would you?" I just thought it was a funny moment.
A little comment here, saying if she played it on Loz, they could have forced John to stay with them. I think that's a very smart plan because I feel like he would be okay with pick the person that you think John would be the most likely to let go. not to risk his game.
So
I think John
Eden gotten up at tribal council and just gone, or Bethany, instead of playing the idol, should have he just gone, hey, look, play your advantage?
Yeah. And you'd rather waste that advantage than waste an idol, potentially, I think.
Mm.
I also think just even just the idea of telling people you have the advantage and saying you're going to do it. Like, I think if you went up to John and you said, hey, I have this advantage, I'm worried you're going to do it, I'm just going to use it, like, and you can figure it out after, that could spook John and just being like, all right, maybe let's play it safe, just this one vote, and then I could do something later. I don't know. At least, you know what I mean? I think it doesn't, especially when someone's right before and they have a lot of time to think. It can definitely shake people. So obviously tribal. Quick thing I want to say, and I feel like I've said this a few times on the pod, but this episode was like just tripled down. Shout out to Dan and Liv for the questions at tribal. There is so many LRGs, and I love all the LRGs, but there's a lot of LRGs, or like seasons, which the questions don't get a lot, and the players don't give a lot. And I feel like in these tribals, we get a lot from the players, we get a lot of answers, and they're good questions, they're good detailed questions. And I know from experience, seeing Dan and Liv, every single time they're not at tribal or not at a challenge, they're together talking and being like, okay, what can we do to get more out of these players? So I think massive shout out to them. They're crushing it right now. But something that Todd said that I love is, I don't want my game to be dictated by people I hung out with for the first 2 hours of the day. I love this because this is something that really irks me about LRG, is this idea of, because we're all Survivor fans, we're just so used to the idea of tribal lines and alliances and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, dude, like, imagine if the actual Survivor was flippy floppy on the first day. You don't know these people. These people, you don't know them at all. You don't know anyone at all. So you should be, if particularly with John, I think it makes perfect sense why he flipped, because Loz is someone that he's more compatible with. Ed's someone that's more compatible. If they were all one tribe, he'd be with them automatically. So why should he stick with someone that he's just not compatible with just because he met them at the start and he got put into a random color with them?
I'd love to know as well if that was part of like tribal theatrics to, you know, put the nail in the coffin of getting John to side with them and just kind of putting that in his head. So when he goes to the booth, whether that's why he votes with them or if it's something that he actually believes. Because if it's if that's going to be an ethos for him moving forward, then it gives so much fluidity. We've seen like these relationships that he's starting to foster with everyone else. So I'd love to have known if that was like theatrics to try and get John to do what he wanted, or if it's his actual thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely think something that speaking about that, I definitely loved at the tribal this kind of like fake out. Like, John is just committing so hard to the let's keep it simple when we all know he's not. And it's kind of funny because I feel like everyone in the tribe knows that he's not, but he's committing so hard to this. Even I think Todd does a really good believability of like trying to convince him. I feel like that was actually really smart. I think it is a little bit of trying to convince Todd, but trying to convince John, but in kind of like a fake way. I think it's a way of like, just to make sure that they feel that he's not flipping, I'm going to try and act like I'm still trying to get John on board. I definitely think John did very well at this tribal. I feel like he answered the questions very well. I just honestly think that he's against smart people. Eden and Bethany are very smart, and they knew it was happening, and I loved it personally. What did you guys think about John's performance at tribal?
Yeah, I mean, John's a good liar, as we saw. I think, yeah, he did well. So, yeah, I'm very impressed by him. Nick taught him well.
I think Nick actually learned from him. You'll see later when John just dominates all the merge challenges.
Oh, that would be like
wins. But so the obviously, let's get to the big part, right? Let's get to the big info. Oh, where is it? So John does his best acting job, but Bethany and Eden, they call his bluff and they play the idol. It's revealed, however, that the idol was only eligible at the tribe it was found at, we had this really awesome flashback with Andrew where he does that. I love it. It was perfect that it was Andrew that found the clue because it just added to so much. Like he just narrated that whole thing and everything you're thinking in your head, he's saying. I loved all that connection. So what do we think of that editing reveal / twist that happened in that tribal?
I thought I'd missed something in an earlier episode. I was like, wait, when did that happen? Yeah, I thought it was a really clever piece of editing. So I'd like to know exactly when in the like chronological order that happened though, because
We're gonna get a flash forward, so maybe it's next episode. But anyway,
yeah,
It did say next time in the corner.
Yeah, okay. Because did it say next time? Oh, I missed that. There you go.
Yeah.
Because we saw that when Andrew found it, he was putting together the clue itself. So he must, but it wasn't obviously attached to the pendant. So I don't know where he finds that other piece of paper.
That's what confused me. I'm like, why is he finding a clue to something in episode 5 when that was found in like, I don't know, 3 episodes ago? It doesn't make sense. I'm like, why would the clue not be attached with it? Like, where did this clue come from? It's like backdated 100%. Clue. I don't get it.
Okay. I got something that these guys don't know. And it's cool. So firstly, flattery will get you everywhere, Marcus, and it will, because I got insider knowledge, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
I know. So a lot of people are asking me, they keep asking me, why were the idols only valid for each tribe? I know, guys. I know. I actually got the insider knowledge. I'm going to read it out right now.
Hey.
When we were mapping out the pre-merge, we realized that we could have had a situation post-swap where all the advantages ended up on one tribe, 2 idols and 2 defectors. And given that final 12 is a double with individual immunity, that means that if a tribe got down to 5 by that stage, then we could have had a situation where no one could receive votes, which I think makes perfect sense. It's a lot of stuff, not defecators, defectors. But yes, I think that makes perfect sense when you think about it in the overall, like, because that's the one thing that we complain about with sometimes with LRGs is that it can be a lot advantage heavy. It can be like, whoa, like everyone pulls at everything. So I think it's a smart way to keep the game fair, but also add a twist. I personally didn't hate that it was ineligible. I think that's just as fun as an idol, not as an idol being played. Firstly, I loved it. I loved when he went, it's not eligible. I was like, hell yeah. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that reasoning for the way it was played out? Are you happy with that answer? Does that resolve your issues? What are you guys' thoughts on all that?
I think it's fair enough. I understand why, but I just think that Eden was kind of stitched up. Like, why was the clue not there? Like, he should have been pre-warned that was a rule in place. I'm sorry, Dan, don't kill me. But yeah, I feel like that. No, it was kind of unfair on Eden. Like, he set up, a minority vote split, like this huge move, and I was like, that's like, just so unfair. And also when he's like, it's not valid, but then they still kept it. I'm like, well, if it's not valid, that means it can't be played. So shouldn't you hand it back to him? Like, I don't know, it triggered me.
Yeah,
I agree.
Thanks, Will.
I'm all for it to be like a tribe-specific idol, but I think it needs to have the note attached to the idol. So, especially when you've got a clue to the flag, someone grabs the idol thinking it's the grabbing it thinking it's the idol. They're not going to know until they get to tribal council. So I feel like it almost sets them up for this kind of situation. So I like the rule, just don't necessarily like the delivery for that certain type of idol.
Yeah, because I also think it's tough because I think definitely if you think about, like, obviously we have hindsight of, they found it, so they should have been given a clue with it. But it's like, I think maybe they just assumed that they wouldn't assume it's an idol. someone would find the clue, and then that's how they'd find the idol, rather than just seeing a circle and being like, "That's an idol," and just gripping it off without even considering any clues other than C. But look, no, I don't think I deserve the idol back. I chose to play it. That's something that I can semi. It's kind of like a mix of, like, I understand that Eden kind of got stitched up here, but I also believe, yes, he's playing it. If it's wrong, it's not. Like, you know, if an idol nullifier was played, it wouldn't be valid, and that, for me, it's the same kind of thing. It's just a shame that he couldn't have found the clue. I actually am curious, but here we go. Yeah, we didn't think people would think it was an idol without the clue. So that's fair when you think about it. I am curious. I'm curious for next episode where they actually hit it.
I wonder if that's because of the precedent from the cookie idol in Australian Survivor.
Yeah, it's definitely made people more keen to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. I just love that the two people just yanked it and went, I don't know what this is, but it looks like an idol. Like, why not? But yeah, I obviously we get to the votes. The idol gets played. It's wrong, and Anthea, unfortunately, is the collateral damage of that. She has Swamp of Sadness, Swamp of Rejuvenation, Swamp of, I think there's a million names for the swamp now. Swamp of what was the Swamp of Serenity? I like Swamp of Serenity. Is that the one you're saying, Michael?
Yeah,
but yeah, I think so what are our thoughts on a bit Anthea going? Could she have done anything different? Do you think she was blindsided by her assumptions of John's personality traits of sticking loyal?
Yeah, definitely. I liked Anthea. I think, love a good villainous queen, and she was just very like deadpan, like didn't care, just I love that. Like, she's someone that if she doesn't like you, she'll just say it to your face. I love that. I think she was robbed. But hey, there's still this, the battle back. So maybe we'll be seeing her again, hopefully.
I think she had like a really calming presence on her alliance as well. So I think now with her gone, she was in, I think, pretty good position within her her alliance. She wasn't seen as, the head of the alliance, or she was pretty switched on. But I think like her loyalty to John probably did her in a little bit. And also I think for that, the ones that are left and that alliance, they're going to be split up now, because I felt like she was a bit of that kind of calming presence for those guys.
Yeah, I think it really sucks. And I feel like I say this a lot, but it's probably because just how strong the cast is. I think Anthea just has so much more to give. I just, yeah, her video for the Meet the Cast, I just really liked her, and I liked her vibe, and I was like, this is someone that, like, I said to everyone, like, this is someone that I want to work with. I think a lot of people would want to work with. It's just a shame that it just became the collateral, because John didn't want to go for Eden and he didn't want to go for Bethany, so it just became that was the next pick. I hope that, it's tough because I love Amy. It's a tough battle for those two. I think it'll be good to watch next episode, and I'm keen to see who ends up on top. Obviously the next time on, we find out that it's a double tribal. I think that definitely changes a lot of things. What are we looking forward to for next episode, and what are our thoughts on the next time on?
Do we think Eden will be on a bit of a warpath now? We've lost one male and three women, and he's been open. He is a man hater. So is he on the warpath to try and even up the even up?
I hope so. Why
what
not?
Misandrist, like the opposite of a misogynist, I think. I think so. He's openly one of them. Yeah. From the next time, I kind of thought, because there's two individual immunities up for grabs, but the challenge preview looked like it was in pairs. So maybe it's like your pairing both get their own individual immunity. And I think I saw Eden was teamed up with Sab, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So I'm hoping that either Eden or Bethany can get immunity. So yeah, hope so.
Yeah, I love with these. I just want someone that isn't like if someone is safe and is no chance of going, I don't want them winning. I just want someone that mixes up I hate when these votes happen and the people that win are not even close to consideration, and it's just like, oh, well, this is an easy vote. I hope that this one is a bit different. Knowing these Canberra challenges, it'll be even. But yeah, sorry.
Do we think that the tribal will be like 2 separate votes, or do we think that there will maybe be some sort of like all-in vote? Or
I think Eden is correct. I think it will follow the format of the Canberra seasons in the past. But yeah, that'd be cool. Like, I love it. I love a joint tribal. That's just fun. Like, why not? But yeah, is there any other top thoughts? I know you guys have notes. Anything else that we haven't discussed in this episode? Oh, Josh, I love it. I love these. I'm loving the notes so far. I want to hear what else you got.
Yes. So, as like, I think Anthea had a really funny moment where I like cracked up, because as someone who self-identifies, I'm considered a bit of a bitch sometimes in the game anyway. In real life, I'm nice. Michael will attest to that. But Anthea had a moment, and she was talking to Eden, and Eden was saying like, oh, he was worried about tribe mates on the other tribes. And then Anthea's like, well, which ones do we care about? Like, she was just so
yes.
Like, do we care about them? I don't know. That cracked me up. I loved that.
And when he went Maddie, she was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. She's like, doesn't care. But no, I think she does care about Maddie, but the others she's like not bothered.
Yeah, 100%.
And one moment that I thought is a testament to Ed and how he's such a nice guy and so level-headed was that when Ed was told, oh, Eden, put your name up, Ed, and you're going to be their vote. And then they were discussing after that who they should vote for. Ed wasn't vengeful. He was very level-headed, and he didn't say, no, let's vote for Eden. He just, he was fine for it to be Anthea, and he didn't try to take that vengeful thing of, oh, Eden said my name, so I'm going to say his name. So I thought that was, really a strong showing of his character, and that he's not somebody that's going to make rash decisions and stuff. So I really respected that from Ed.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think something as well is when someone comes in someone flips, you got to respect what they want. And clearly John didn't want to go for Eden. And I think it'd be dumb if Ed went, oh, no, has to be this person because they're going for me. It's giving John, especially when John came and said like, hey, like, am I on the bottom if I join here? And if you just go, hey, you vote the way we're voting, it's just super clear. I think John would have just flipped back. So I think it's very smart from Ed. He's really growing on me as a strategic player. I think socially he's great. I think physically he's great. I wasn't super sure if he had strategic game, but he's definitely showing that he can pull back when he needs to.
Yeah. And no, wait, you go, Michael. Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to move on to something else. Another.
Oh wait, mine. I go first because mine's still on this topic. Sorry. So in this whole chat thing, then Loz, I think it was the same chat what you just referenced, Marcus, and then about if John flips, will he be on the bottom? And then I think it was Loz was like, oh well, there's 2 from our tribe, original tribe, who are now on the other swap. There's 2 that are on the bottom. So I'm like, one of them obviously was Andrew, but who's the other person? Like, who is the person on the outs with Ed and Lauren's kind of alliance that they're running the show? I can't remember who was in it.
I don't know. That's actually a good point.
Oscar, Ed, Loz, Sab, and Pauline, was it?
Yeah. So you'd assume it's probably Oscar, but in the idea of probably at that we probably didn't see that Andrew and Oscar's beef
I think it was Oscar
further back. But yeah, and I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome that Loz was willing to be like, hey, like you're coming to us and helping us out. Like these 2 are the ones that are on the outs. This is proof that we want to work with you, because I think I believe her. I think she would 100% want to work with John rather than Oscar or Andrew. I think he's 100% jumps those guys in the tier. But yeah, Michael, anything else on yours?
Yeah. Looks like yeah, Oscar was the other one that was on the bottom, Josh.
Yeah.
I was just going to say it's. What's your guys' take on, I guess, who like the power alliances at the moment? We've seen two majority alliances based on the swap basically be the ones who are split apart. So it's really I don't know which tribe. If we're looking at like Canberra versus the world, I don't know if there's one that's really stronger than the other at the moment because both majority alliances have split. Like, well, not yet, but I'll rephrase that. We've had one that has split, and then we've had one which looks like it is going to split. So I don't really know if there is like a stronger tribe at the moment when we're talking about Canberra versus the world. What do you guys think? Because it's not common that we do see that where we've just got so many fractions in the majority tribes.
I think that's so dangerous because there's so many ways you can. When there's so many different fractures, it's just the core group that stick together that can kind of just sneak under the radar. And I think that Loz, John, Ed, like, because they're so similar, they're someone that if you saw them, if they were friends outside of it, their personalities, like, they don't need Survivor to be close. They're people that are similar personalities, and that's massively important in regards to it. Someone needs to think similar to you so you can know how they're going to think. If you don't think the way Eden thinks, you're going to struggle to work with him because you're not going to be able to predict him. And so I think that 3 is really strong. And I also think as well, if we get to a merge where Aiden and Squin are still there, I could totally see them just jumping with John and that being a really strong 5. Which could cause a lot of havoc, but then that's where possibly you get Bethany and Eden getting with the other game bots, and then you got maybe like a game bot versus the loyalty group. I don't know, something like that. That's my thoughts. What do you think, Josh?
Well, I was just imagining, imagine if that happens, and then there's like at merge a 5 of Squin, Aiden, John, Loz, Ed. But then as Sab's saying in the comments, Oscar, Todd, and Sab might be with them and they have like a super majority. But then that would mean Eden, Bethany, Andrew would be like the counter alliance. And Andrew doesn't like Eden. He already bitched about him. It's something about Mr. Beautiful or something. So seeing Eden and Andrew try and work together where Eden obviously hates like strong male characters, I feel like that would be hilarious to watch. And their confessionals, they would be hating each other.
I know it will never happen, but I dream of a day of Eden and Ed getting to the end together. That would be the funniest like trajectory story of Eden saying at the start, like, don't want to be with strong dudes, and then going with Ed. That would be my dream. It's never going to happen, but that would be the funniest thing of all time. But anything else, Michael, on your notes before we move on?
No, I think I've covered everything.
Love it. Anything else, Josh?
No, I've gone through my notes.
Fantastic, guys, because now I get to shine. Get to shine. Ma Mountain's back, guys. I'm not sure if you guys have been keeping up, but essentially the spirit of the greatest player of all time enters into me and it just picks this mountain, and I'm just a presenter. And I just let it pick who it picks. So here's where we're at right now. This is who was on the mountain at the end of last week.
Who picks it?
The spirit of some amazing players come into me, and it just automatically picks. I don't have any choice. I don't have any choice in the matter. It's the gods of Canberra Survivor, of Ma Mountain, that decides. But this is where we're at heading into this episode, and people are saying I'm wishy-washy, and that I don't stick to my guns. And also, real quick before we jump back, these are the 3 that were close to hopping on the mountain. I wanted big things from John. I thought Ed and Lauren could do well. And here's where we're at.
Correct.
And people are asking if I was wishy-washy and if I'd stick to this time. And this is who's left on the mountain from this week. Todd is staying in his spot. He's staying exactly where he is. And this is the first actual week of episodes where I struggled. Normally, the 6 was pretty clear above the pack. This is the first time where it was probably like 9 to 10 names that were in consideration. But Todd stays on the list. I feel like he's great. I feel like, similar to what you said, playing very quiet, but in a brilliant way. I think he has a lot of potential. He go really, 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 really far, in my opinion. Moving on, we've got Pauline. Love, 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 love Pauline. I think she's doing great. I think so much potential. I think the fact that Andrew and Oscar just think they're both working with her is brilliant. I think she has so much potential on the other side. I think pretty much everyone would be keen to work with her. I think she has no threat level. No one's even considered voting her out. She's my winner's pick for a reason, and that's why she's on the mountain for, I think, the 3rd out of the 4th week. Maybe she's on every week. That's how good she is. Love Pauline. Next up, we got Andrew's back on the mountain. Obviously these Pauline and Andrew had quieter episodes, but I think I couldn't leave Andrew out with the callback at Tribal. I think that stuff was brilliant. I love storytelling. I love that stuff, and I thought that was just perfect. It was probably my favorite part of the episode. So that's why he's there. Aston, Pauline, low-key too low.
Yeah.
You're going to see these three, and you're going to regret those decisions. Because for the first time, actually, no, I'm going to do someone else. We're going to do Bethany. Bethany's on. And I've changed. I'm not saying I was negative on Bethany. I was just kind of like indifferent with Bethany. This is the first episode where I'm like, wow, like I'm sleeping under a rock. Like I got to hop on the Bethany train. So I'm investing in my Bethany stock and hoping that leads to me rising. She could be someone that could fall off. You know, I could definitely see a boot next episode potentially. Fingers crossed, no. But the next person is the person I'm most excited. I've heard rumors that he's been keen to be on the mountain since episode 1. And he deserves it. John is on the mountain. I'm very impressed. I love the John tent. # John tent. I want more of it. I want him to commit to what he's doing. Don't go back. Don't apologize. Commit to what you're doing. Stick up to yourself. I think John can go really far if he keeps going the way he's going. But, as always, this person keeps climbing up the mountain. Every time they drop down, and the last 2 episodes, they dropped down twice. And they messaged me privately saying they deserve to be lower. And I said, I need more. I need more. And it didn't go his way, but he was correct. He played the idol correctly. It didn't work out for him, but everything he did was correct. I thought the fact that John never even considered his name proved that him voting with John was a great move early on. And it's kept them all close. I think if he didn't do that, he probably would have been gone this vote because it would have been a lot more easier to get rid of Eden and a bigger move. But I think he's in a great position. If he can just get through this vote, this next vote, if he can just get through it, I think he'll be all right. But that's my list currently. We also got the people that are close. And this is going to be a shock. This is the first time as well in my mountain history that we have someone that's been voted out right on the edge of the mountain. Amy. Shout out Amy. I know she's technically been voted out. She's still in. And I'm loving her. I'm totally on the Amy train of I want her to win all the challenges. I want her to come back and dominate. I'm totally invested with this redemption story of her just keep winning. She surprised the hell out of me. She isn't someone that screams challenge beast, but I'd love a Valentina. I'd love a run like that. That'd be awesome. Also Aiden and Sabrina are there. They weren't super involved in the episodes, but I felt bad taking them off the mountain or way off the mountain because I felt like they deserve to still be there. But that's my list. I think I'm happy with my list currently. Do you guys have any thoughts?
I think
do you have any?
Eden Law's a bit disrespected, I think, to be honest.
Wow. Okay, I'll be honest. I do have bias to some people, but the mountain picks the way the mountain picks. Okay, guys, and for me, Eden Law's. John was the reason why that move worked. Ed and Loz just got if John's not there, they're ducks in water. So for me, it was John that more impressed. But I also felt like, if you think about it, I think you can't get rid of Todd. Pauline and Andrew, I think, were still have done too much from the previous episodes to get kicked off for me. And then if you compare Ed and Loz to Eden and Bethany, I think strategy-wise and content-wise, Eden and Bethany gave us more. in that episode.
What's
But
the,
anyway,
what's spirits like? What's their way of choosing? Is it past episodes or is it like future position?
That's what I want to know.
So it's not a power ranking. So the way it works is the person on the top at the end of the season is someone that I think was the representative of the season. So a person that's strategic, has good content, gives us entertaining stuff, does fun stuff, makes good moves, but plays well. And that's why I said, if you're boring, if you disappear for an episode, you're off. I don't care who you are. So, but yeah, those are the 6 currently.
No,
Eden, shout out Eden, who's there.
Loving Eden.
Honored to stay.
Eden is slaying at the moment, even though I know that if we played together, he'd be coming for me. So, but I can't help but like him. He's doing a great job.
No,
yeah, it's one of those things where you go. I'd happy to let Eden vote me out.
I'd be honoured to be voted out by Eden.
But yeah, that's my list. We're gonna go back to this 3. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you guys on. It's honestly been awesome to this is the first time I'm meeting these guys, to anyone that's watching. So it's been really cool to meet you guys, and I knew you guys are massive Tyler fans, so I knew it'd be a lot of good knowledge. If you guys haven't already, Backyard Season 4, it's amazing. These 2 amazing people are on it, and they're iconic on it. Check it out. Support the LRG community. But yeah, the next episode's out Friday night. Check it out. There's a live chat for the comments to check it out. We'll be back on Monday. Sam, the more attractive version of me, will be taking over with some amazing people. It'll be really, really awesome. Thank you so much to Josh and Michael. Thank you to the people that checked out, the 11 people that have been in here the entire time. And shout out Canberra Survivor, yeah. Been a pleasure. This has been the Backbenchers, and we'll see you guys very, very soon.